I've already started the recording.
Uh-oh. We better start then.
I've been started.
Okay. You're working?
I've been started for 10 minutes.
Uh-oh. Sorry. Hold on. There we go. Ready?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
We're back.
We're back. Where were we? What? Oh.
Where were we?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, we were at Lightbox,
We were at Dragon Con.
and before that, Dragon Con.
That's right.
And Lightbox, Dragon Con was great. Lightbox was
Great.
phenomenal.
Uh-huh.
So,
We're saying hello.
hello everybody.
We are back again. Home finally for a weekend.
I actually started recording this when I started the drawing, like about 10 minutes ago.
Oh.
But so it's
I
all
was
there.
late.
It's all there for the
Okay.
for the full length recording now.
Oh, good.
I mean, all the lines I laid down are still here. I haven't really done any changing.
Is that a Koran Dash fixed pencil?
It is. It's a fixed pencil 77 metal,
Metal.
and it has 3 little symbols behind it. I don't know what the symbols make. I mean, Swiss made
Oh.
Koran Dash.
Someone is going to sleep. Someone else is sitting back and drawing with us every time we
Cool.
go live.
Well, that's awesome.
I know, it is live.
I mean, for the person going to sleep, dream about drawing. That's fine.
Do you dream about drawing?
I have, actually.
Sleep is for the weak. It is not. No.
Oh, you know what? I have just recently, like it was like 2 weeks ago. I went. I like to like sleep. Sometimes I'll just crash wherever I'm at on the floor.
Yes.
And I had this sort of we were talking about the hypnopompic hallucinations, like what you see when you're waking up from a dream.
Yes.
And I had one of those kind of dreams that you kind of phase in and out of, but it became lucid because I knew I was in it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but in this particular dream, though, I could see these fractal patterns that were like small living things crawling over the face of the surfaces.
Is this the one
Yeah.
you were talking about? You're like,
They were crawling over the surfaces of reality, and they were actually the things that the patterns of energy that, like in my dream anyway, that create the reality that we see. And I cannot describe how beautiful it was in my dream, or my the
waking dream.
The waking dream thing that I had. I was seeing them. Obviously, I had my eyes closed, and I was seeing them with a clarity that my eyes have never had. And I've had really good vision in my life, but the sharpest that I've ever seen things, this was sharper than that, because I was actually looking at whatever this was unfiltered through the visions in my mind, not the filters of my eyes.
Oh yeah.
And when I told, I'm telling you guys this on Instagram, but when I woke up from this thing, I told Vicky that it actually made me sad to wake up, because I have never physically seen anything as beautiful as what I saw in this particular dream.
Do you have a face going on there?
It is. Yeah, it's sort of it's kind of a satyr looking kind of a guy.
That's what it looks like to me. Hello, Amy Baker.
Hey, Amy. I'm starting with like a 3/4 because I normally do profiles or straight on stuff. So with this one, I decided to go with a 3/4 kind of view, which is what this kind of line here is the center line of the face that runs through it, you know.
The beard.
And the beard, just down here. So it's kind of fun sometimes to play with these, like more gestural lines and be a little less, a little more haphazard with them, so that you can like see where they fall, and they suggest different, patterns of growth on the form, basically. So I wonder if you can.
Cool one.
I wonder if you can hear the printer going on in the
Anything
background.
Growing on the back? I don't think so.
I have some of you may be familiar with 3D printing. I have an Ender 3 that I got recently that is in the midst of a 10-hour print in the background. It's just something that I got to experiment with.
I like the horns on him.
Well, there's two. There's
Yes.
this set and then this set up here,
No, I didn't see that set.
which are
Because you're just drawing them.
right. Well, and
Sorry.
yeah, I have lentils in my teeth,
You have lentils in your teeth?
caught in my teeth.
That's a good dinner, though.
I've kind of wanted to, for a couple of years now, there's been a piece in the background of my head that has to do with the Krampus
Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah.
that I've wanted to do,
Yes,
and
we talked about
I've
that.
never, and I probably won't get it done this year either because I have the gallery show between now and then.
Yes.
But it's just
Get it
something
done
that
right after the gallery.
I could possibly get it done.
Joe Beth says, greetings from Arizona where it's finally raining.
Oh, good. I love rain. And cool. I mean, I guess was Arizona kind of in a heat wave? Probably
I think they're always in a
everywhere's
heat
kind of
wave.
in a heat wave right now.
Remember, we just
or they
stopped
were.
in Phoenix. It was like
Yeah,
miserable.
right. So sometimes I'll take my Duralar and I'll use it to make stencils for like little, if I want some shapes and stuff, and just and I have like a little brother stencil cutter. The Glowforge does it too with Duralar, but it tends to like smoke
Yeah,
the edges,
yeah,
which doesn't make much difference for the drawing part of it. But
yeah.
and then I keep these because I sometimes reuse them.
Julia says, I haven't been able to draw today, and I went to, but I'm recovering from a panic attack shutdown thing, and I can't think for shit.
Oh, well, you know what? You got to do what you need to do to take care of yourself. So, you know, if you have to engage in something, you know, there are a lot of things that can cause you to be taken away from something like this, you know. Certainly I've had my own share of panic attacks in the past, you know. Mine tend to represent themselves as sort of a hypochondria kind of a thing, where I'll think I'm sick or I'm getting sick or whatever. But
It's hard.
yeah, no, it is, you know. And the thing that you need to remember, though, is when you say, you know, I haven't had a chance to do this thing that I want to do, is that it's okay because you'll come back to it. You'll get it. You know, it's always going to be there. It's never going to go anywhere. And the drawing is always going to be there for you.
Just waiting.
Yep.
So it has taken me a lot longer to recover from 2 back-to-back shows than I thought it would.
Well, it's been a long time since we did 2 shows that close
I
together.
know. One weekend after the other.
Right.
Dragon Con was over Labor Day, and then you got back Monday. I got back Tuesday.
Right.
Packed Wednesday, and then we left Thursday.
Right.
And set up Thursday for Lightbox.
Or you did most of the setup because I was asleep.
Yeah.
So. But we did get to see a lot of friends,
Oh
a lot
my
of,
gosh,
and got to
so-
meet a lot of people that we never met
I
before.
know. It was a huge international crowd.
Yep.
People from Spain. Morning from Pakistan.
Oh, good
Can
morning.
you talk about the pencil you are using today, Alan?
This pencil is a Caran d'Ache Fixed Pencil 77. It's a metal lead holder. It's a clutch type, so it just extends like that. That's how much lead is left. And I'm using an 8B Kohinoor lead that's super soft and really nice. I usually take the pencil, the clips off of these things because I don't ever use them for anything anyway, and they just get in the way.
You're just supposed to clip them into your pocket.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, if you want to keep, you know, your pencils on your pocket, that's what they're there for. But I always keep them in a box or whatever. And then I use this Staedtler lead pointers for this. I like wooden pencils quite a bit too because of the amount of lead you can expose and draw with the side. But I like lead pointers and mechanical pencils like this and the finer ones, the smaller ones, because sometimes you just You just need to keep going with that sharp point or a sharper point, and it's very fast. So it just depends on my mood. There are times when I've gone completely into the wood pencils for weeks at a time,
Mm-hmm.
and other times when I've just used mechanical pencils. So
Well,
you can use whichever one and get pretty much the same kind of results. So
yeah. Just,
don't ever let your tools limit you. Is what I'm saying in terms of that. You can, as long as you can get a hold of a pencil, like even I used to draw with nothing but those the Mongols, the school MONGOLs, the number 2 pencils that you get at school. That's
mm-hmm.
what I learned how to draw with. So uh, as long as you understand the limitations, and the breadth of what the tool will do,
What they
you
can
can
do
use
and
almost
everything.
any tool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So
Someone asked if there will ever be any T-shirts. I believe we're talking
we
to
are
someone.
involving ourselves in something right now that might end up with some
T-shirts.
fairly cool T-shirts for in the near future. So as soon as we do,
They will let you know.
you guys will be the first to know as soon as we can talk about it.
It was good to see you too.
Who was that?
Arabramian.
Cool.
He came by and said that he started drawing again
Oh,
because of your live feeds. Yes.
I remember that. Thank you very much. That was very kind of you to say, and I'm very happy to hear it. I mean, you can testify to what I was talking about earlier, that no matter when you come into it, no matter how long you have to be away from it, sometimes it's still there waiting for you as soon as you come back. All the stuff you want to do is right there. It's because you carry it with you.
Mm-hmm. Stuart asks, "How long have you been drawing?"
The long answer is that I've been drawing since I was a child. Like the earliest that I can remember is around 3 or 4 years old. Professionally since probably 1988.
Which is a long time ago.
Right. What's funny? I mean, when I was young though, I mean, the way that I drew when I was little was pretty much the same way everybody else draws. I mean, if I showed you what I did when I was that age, it wouldn't have looked any different than anything else any other kid had done at that age.
Yep.
It wasn't like I started off being able to draw stuff. In fact, a lot of what I've learned how to do has happened in the last 15 to 20 years of being a professional.
Yes.
So,
how many hours a day do you draw?
it goes anywhere from, depending on like show wise, if we have a show to do, what we have to do, from a couple of hours to a dozen or more.
Right.
So the minimum is probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours a day I'll draw, whereas the maximum has been upwards of 18.
That's usually not
But that
days
doesn't,
in a row.
yeah, that doesn't happen, very often. But
right.
occasionally, when I like double book a job or something, I have to work a little longer than normal.
And Timmy says this is the coolest live draw I've ever seen.
Oh, well, thank you.
I've ever watched.
I appreciate that.
Do you, Ink Prodigy asks, do you ever use blending stumps to shade?
I use everything. So yes, I have used blending stumps, and I like using blending stumps. Like, say, if I were working on this and I wanted the face to have a certain kind of a grainy texture, but I wanted edges or the horn to kind of smooth out like they would be polished, like horns sometimes look, you can use that blending stump to really change the texture of the paper.
Mm-hmm. You just don't use it all the time.
No, not all the time. In fact, I have to be. It's another thing. It's based on my mood. Basically, it just depends on whether or not I'm into. Because sometimes I'll just use a brush, like a tiny little, like a watercolor brush,
mm-hmm.
like like a 0 or a or a 1 size. Like if you're talking like about in the Series 7 stuff
mm-hmm.
that I use, and you can just tickle the paper with the brush, like they used to use in entomology illustrations when they would illustrate bugs for science books. They would use graphite powder and brush quite a bit, and you can get a super smooth drawing that way. But I tend to like having contrast. I don't like everything being super smooth. You know, I like there being like texture and stuff, which is the opposite of the way I was when I like in my 20s. I used to want everything to be like rendered glass smooth,
Tight, yes.
and
Remember,
that
if
just
you
became kind of boring after a while.
everyone's going to sleep, or people are going to sleep, it'll be up on our stories for 24 hours, so you can just pop in and watch it then.
This is true.
It is.
And then when it goes on to Patreon, the first 10 minutes when I just sketch this out beforehand, that'll be up on there too.
That'll be on
Because
there, too.
without sound though. Well, unless you cut off the first part of the sound because I was just yelling into the other room.
No, were you yelling at me?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't yelling at you. I was yelling near you.
Towards me. Towards me?
Yeah,
Do
kind of.
you use reference for your detail?
I'm not using any reference for this, but that doesn't mean I haven't used it in the past. And the fact is that once to me, once you've used certain kinds of reference over and over again, it starts to become a little more intuitive. So it's more like I've studied certain details in the past from other things, like the way skin folds work, the way texture works. That was something that I was talking about, and I was writing about in my next Muddy Colors post. The fact that I can think I want this to be smooth, and then I'll just make it smooth without reference, because I've studied how to make things smooth in the past, and I can figure it out on the fly now because I have that information in the background in my head.
Right, right.
And it's pretty much the same way with most of these things. But there are times when I definitely, like if I do a photo shoot with someone and there are photos that I can tell when I shoot a photo if it's something that I'm going to want to draw or paint more representationally,
Right,
because
right.
I can
You
see
want to be
it
able
when
to
I do
see
it.
all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Many people have said that you're their inspiration.
Well,
Thank you.
that is very kind, and thank you for watching.
Other people use Q-tips instead of a blending stone.
Yeah, you can use Q-tips. You can
Eye
use
makeup brushes.
those triangular makeup pads. You can use those
Oh, yeah.
as long as you use it with an eye towards control, and realize that most of the time when you blend stuff, when you smudge it, you have to work back into it to make it look not like so it doesn't look like marshmallows.
Right, right.
Because the tendency is to over blend everything, and then it starts to make everything look soft and like just dirty.
Right.
Whereas people just kind of forget that you need to work back into it to bring back out some of the texture around those areas.
Right.
So,
Lee Oscar asked, will you be attending or visiting any industry events in Europe in the upcoming year? Love your work.
thank you very much.
We don't have any European ones set,
Not
although
yet.
we were talking to some people.
We were talking to somebody recently. Well, that was about going to that was Spain. Yeah.
Mhm. Which is Europe.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying specifically.
Right, Spain. You're right. Yeah, yeah.
Which I'd love to do it. I just we haven't.
Oh, yeah. We have to pick different times. It's 3:25 in the UK.
It's pretty late.
I know
over
it
there.
is. People
So
are
we'd have
going
to
to
do
sleep.
it what
We need
at
to do
like
it at
1 or
like-
2 here.
Yeah, we should do it at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, some Saturday or Sunday.
All right. Well, next Saturday when we do it, we'll do it at like 2.
All right. Everybody heard that.
So that way the
European and other.
Europeans will be able to not have to go to bed in the middle of it,
Or stay up.
or
Till
stay up.
3
Yeah.
3 a.m. That's
I mean, if you're
hard.
already staying up till 3, I stay up late all the time. Though, so
9 to 10 my time is hard for me. Usually by the end of this, I'm like, oh, I gotta go to bed. Have y'all ever had an art medium you just can't figure out? For me, it's alcohol markers.
alcohol and markers.
Alcohol markers.
Alcohol markers. Specifically, I've used alcohol markers before with colored pencil and to render things, and you can get pretty tight with that. An art medium that I haven't. I don't think so. And maybe there are different like mediums that like are suited for me in different ways. Like I actually move faster in oil painting than I do in drawing because of the nature of how things are stay fluid and blendable,
Right.
and how you can cover large areas. Whereas with the way that I draw, I tend to have to build up large areas over a course of like hours. I haven't really found any medium to be harder than another in that respect, though. It's just they have different, ways of talking to me in a way. You know what I mean? It's like I know that watercolor, tends to you can work it. It tends to stay workable, at that being said, it's not a hugely forgiving medium, and that it's difficult to take things up once you put them down,
Yes.
even though you can do it to a degree.
Right.
Whereas oil, you can either just wipe it off, or you can, cover it or sand it off even.
Yeah.
So it just really is it just depends on what I need to do.
Right. All right, I got 7:30 in California. It's 8 a.m. in India, so we're all over the place.
So this is like morning time for you.
I can hear. Okay, good question. What's more important, having a style that stands out or being technical?
Well, the only way I can relate this, I think it just depends on what you're trying to do in your career, because there are people who do concept art who are generalists, and then there are people who are very specific with the techniques that they use and what they look like. You could call, like Wayne Barlow, a very specific look to the work that he does.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really, you could probably go online and find a lot of people, though, that are what you would call generalists, who you wouldn't be able to say necessarily recognize the individual pieces that they do, but they can do a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So if your idea is to eventually do your own thing, I think it's much better to have to develop your own specific voice. If your idea is just to work consistently in the industry, forever, then learn how to speak in different voices and learn how to do different things. It just depends on what you want.
Do you have any tattoos?
I do not.
You do
not.
not?
I'm
I
not
know that.
adverse to them. I'm not adverse to them. Actually, I have a tiny one I put on myself when I was a kid with a needle and a dot of India ink. I don't know where it is now, though. But I'm not adverse to tattoos. I've never done it.
Let's see. I was trying to find the other questions. Do you have deadlines? You have many deadlines.
I do. And,
Yes.
And I actually feel most of the time, with my own work, I set my own deadlines, obviously, but with contract work, I don't really like having open deadlines for things, because there's an old phrase that work expands to fill the time given to it. I'd rather have a deadline so I know how long it's going to take, and try to hit that than not, especially contract work. But with my own stuff, I want to take as much time as I can. And sometimes I have a self-imposed deadline for that, but
And sometimes I
and
have
sometimes-
it imposed as
well, you try to impose it.
I try to. Yes.
And sometimes it works. Sometimes I try very hard to get things done by a certain, like if I have a gallery opening or something
Yes.
that I have to have stuff done by, then
Yes.
I have to work with deadlines.
You're like, everybody's shouting out their times. Everybody's all over. Russia and India and New Zealand. It's 2:30 in New Zealand.
That's awesome, though. I want to go to New Zealand.
I want to go to Russia
I want to go to
or
Russia.
China, India. We
Any
like
of those
traveling.
places.
I know we like traveling.
I love the seeing the beauty of the world in different places. We've been to a few. We've been to
Shadowgraphs asks or
Taiwan.
says, "I admire that you're pouring forth with creative creatures all the time."
Oh, well, thank you very much. It's funny. I didn't realize it when I started drawing, that half of the time what I was doing was probably you could call it concept art. Like creature development and creature design.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I first started doing all this back in in '88, and earlier in high school, like my guidance counselors had no idea how to advise me on what to do. And it's interesting because I just recently met somebody who has the title of being the first ever designated concept artist given the title.
I know.
Crash McCreary,
I know.
who is an amazing person.
I know.
He did like
I got to meet him in my box.
I was made familiar with his work through, I think it was Fangoria magazine, when he did all of the drawings and stuff for Jurassic
Park.
Park. That was the first time. Well, it was funny because it was the first time I had realized that concept art was a thing, and also it was the first time anybody was ever called a concept artist. Apparently, I didn't know that, but Ian McKeag told us that over the weekend.
Yeah. So there's a question here. What is your favorite Lord of the Rings character?
My
And then
favorite Lord of the Rings
everybody's-
character. You're
yes.
gonna laugh. I mean,
Creature, favorite Lord of the Rings
I
creature.
love the mouth of Sauron. he's not even in the regular version, right? But the mouth of Sauron to me is just so
Right.
cool.
So you're not talking like reading the books, right?
No, well, I mean, I'm talking about from the movie, yeah.
From the movies.
But
Someone said Celebrimbor.
so, oh, it's been a while
Someone
since I
else
read
says
it.
Hansi Kirsch. Just starting The Hobbit. Okay, I have a confession. I've never read The Hobbit.
I also like
I
the
tried reading The Hobbit.
well,
I know I'm bad. I'm a
well,
bad
I
movie
also liked
person.
kind of that enigmatic quality of what the hell was Tom Bombadil? Because he put like in the Hobbit, like I mean, he in the Lord of the Rings, he puts the ring on and it doesn't do anything, and he takes it off and goes, well, whatever, you know.
Uh,
It doesn't do a thing to him.
okay.
It's like he's sort of like a nature god or something, and
Does
so
Alex Gray inspire you?
I don't know. A lot of times there are people that visually inspire me that, or I don't know who Alex Gray is by name, but that's not a surprise. Uh, there's a lot of people that I don't know the name by name. So you have to. Is he an artist? I'll look it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's likely that if you think he does, I probably at some point have come across it at one point or
Mm-hmm.
another.
What place have you not gone to that you would like to go to?
Oh,
God, just throw out
I
half a dozen
kind
there.
of would like to go to every place I've not gone to in a way. But I mean, I don't know. That's hard.
We've been over to Taiwan and we've been to Japan
Yeah, and we've been into
and to Germany and
England.
France.
Um, uh, India would be
I
wonderful.
know. I know. Someone said, "Hey, go here." We go. Okay.
Yeah, Egypt.
We would go anywhere.
Yeah, anywhere. It's almost like it's not. It's kind of hard to prioritize the fact that I would love to see everything. I'm a very like visually stimulated person, so just I don't know, just about everywhere. I've been many places in the States. I will say that. I've lived over the course of years in like 48 different states for sometimes very brief times and other times longer. But my father used to travel a lot when I was young and worked on as like a construction like foreman for natural gas pipelines and stuff. So,
I like what he's forming up there. You should come to India.
oh, I would love to. India would be great.
Maeve is in there watching. We started The Fifth Element,
Fifth Element.
which I haven't watched in I don't know how long.
I think Fifth Element wasn't that one of the last movies that Mobius worked on?
I don't know.
I think it was actually. I may be wrong, but I think it is.
But it's so Mobius.
It is. Maybe I don't know. Did I think possibly Geoff Darrow worked on it too? I hope I'm saying that right. Geof, I think is how his name is spelled, and I say Geoff.
Probably a strange question, but how do you get your beginning sketch process so clean? I get anxious, excited when I start anything, and it's a bit messy. But it doesn't matter if it's messy because there's these fantastic things.
What? Oh, these?
His kneaded eraser.
My kneaded eraser, which I draw as much with my kneaded eraser as I do with my pencil most of the time. But the thing is that I also start drawing from the side of the pencil quite often, and that leaves a mark that is only writing like on the surface and is easy to take off. You know. Plus, I don't really care so much if there are miscellaneous lines and things. I'll just incorporate them or cover them with value.
Yeah, but now years ago you were very
Years ago,
tight about.
I would just be very meticulous about everything and do like layouts of things and then cover it with my hand. But this is another way, right? You see this? This is basically a drawing, like a painting maul stick that you use to keep your hand off the board.
And it just skates over the top of it.
Yeah, and it just holds my hand up off the paper, and I can, this spiral is a little thicker than normal, but I can float over
Make
the
it
edge of
work.
it. Yeah, see, and it doesn't really touch the paper. So, but and then, like I said, I don't really usually. I mean, what I do with my hand, I can erase it to be clean enough, but I don't unless I'm doing something that's specifically for like a book illustration that needs to have a super clean white space around it. I don't usually care so much about whether or not there's a smudging or evidence of my passing here and there. You know what I mean?
Right, right. What's something you always drew as a kid?
Oh, dinosaurs.
Monsters. I still have that
Monsters.
little tiny card.
I did a birthday card for my mother. I think it was like 4,
Had
and
monsters
it
and
was just
crayon.
monsters, like all these monsters wishing my mother a happy birthday, and they all had different like goofy names, like Franksy and things like that. Franksy, because like a Frankenstein.
Yeah.
And back when I didn't know that it was Frankenstein's monster
Wow.
instead of when it was Frankenstein's monster. I've said that too many times now. It
Yes.
sounds
What's
abstract.
going on over there? Let's reboot you.
Yeah.
Have you seen Genius, Picasso? It must be a movie about Picasso.
I don't know that
I don't
I mean,
think
I've
so.
seen like Picasso's work in person before, which I think is all obviously it's brilliant. I haven't seen the movie though. I also hear there's a movie out there about Beksinski, but I haven't seen that yet either.
Sean asked, which do you like more, the Lord of the Rings or the Harry Potter series?
Uh, I have.
Yeah, it's two things.
It's like different reasons for
like
liking
asking
both
your
of them though.
kids,
It's
right?
like I like the Lord of the Rings because it actually seems like this is what fantasy would look like, what real fantasy would look like
Oh, if it were real.
if it were like medieval real fantasy.
Right,
And
right,
what
right.
Lord of the Ring, what Harry Potter looks like is like this is what a magical world would look like if it were, you know, thrust up against reality.
Yeah.
And I've loved them both at different times, and had criticisms of both of them at different times. But
It drives our kids crazy. They're
yeah.
like,
Well,
what is
my
going on?
my kids have learned that just because I love something doesn't mean I don't like find things about it that I wish they had changed or were different.
Right, right.
So-
How's your musical taste?
Oh.
Everything and all over?
Yeah, it's all over the place. I've been listening to a lot of metal lately.
Yeah.
I like industrial music that sounds very, robotic and mechanical. Like I described it once as like I like music that sounds like Transformers transforming. Sometimes. I also like very ethereal music, like any of the the Celtic women and like Lorena McKenna and all that.
You have a very wide range.
It goes all over the place. What I like, and it all has it serves different purposes to me when I'm working. So I also listen to audiobooks more than I listen to anything else. Actually, I find like energetic music is really good for conceptualizing things when I just want to get really gestural and into the line work.
The way you hold the pencil, I was kicked out of my art class. But yeah, I still do that while shading.
Oh, you mean because you do it this or
Uh,
this or this? Because I hold it like many different ways, but nobody should kick you out of an art class because of the way you hold a pencil. There's an infinite number of ways to do all this stuff. You know what I mean? This is the way that I do it, but I guarantee you, whatever teacher tells you you can't do art this particular way, somebody somewhere will prove them wrong.
Yes, they're doing it the other way.
Yep. So,
All right, you can. Our website is alanwilliamsstudio.com. We're about halfway through our stream here. This will be up under our stories here, and then I'll put it up on Patreon. We're back from the shows, so I'll be able to jump in and throw things up on Patreon again, which is at patreon.com/Alan Williams. And then, of course, they go on our YouTube. Our YouTube channel is at Alan Williams Studio, just like our website. What is your favorite question here? What was your first Japanese manga or anime you loved?
Hmm.
I don't know. Probably some of those.
I have to think about it.
I know, because we were around before manga got really big here, and so then.
Yeah, I was older when it started getting really popular. Recently, it's more recent. I've really enjoyed, Death Note, which I thought was pretty cool in terms of, a concept and I think there's a lot of really brilliant, concepts out there for different stuff. I tend to like the stuff that like little bits and pieces that I found online. There's a small animated short that's very Lovecraftian that I liked online. It centers around these people, these couples breaking into a swimming pool, which I thought that was, well done. I mean, I liked Akira in terms of animation. That was just like, it's still one of the more amazing
I think
pieces of
Daryl was the
animation out
one
there.
that got us, would have us always watch.
Well, yeah,
Manga.
he had more animation than I didn't. I mean, until we moved to Atlanta when I was already out of school, it's the first time I'd even heard of it
Yeah,
because it wasn't widespread when I was young, when we
right.
were young.
Because we're old.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of it that's really good though. Even though, I mean, a lot of it has, some similar storylines and stuff. I mean, Nausicaa, I think it was called Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind. I
Oh
love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
You know, Howl's Moving Castle.
Mm. Well,
Any of the Ghibli, Studio Ghibli stuff,
oh
I
yeah.
liked all. But
Who is
Spirited
the
Away.
person behind the camera? That's me.
That is Vicky.
That is. Oh God! Don't show me. That's terrible. Don't show me. Nobody wants to see me right
They
now.
asked.
I know they
What?
asked.
You're beautiful.
Oh, thank you. You're so kind.
She's not just the person behind the camera, but she's the person behind everything that happens here in terms of getting things done.
Okay, man. It's Saturday, right? Okay.
It is.
What do you say to horror movies? Do you have any favorites?
I have a lot of
Oh my gosh,
horror
there's
movies. I
so-
watch a lot of horror movies and a lot of
He
bad horror
watches
movies.
bad horror movies and really
you know,
good horror
um,
movies and everything in between. And he likes everything. He will always find something he likes
Okay,
about even.
even a really bad horror movie usually will have at least one little hook or an idea that I'll remember that I like. But recently I liked a lot. I liked Hereditary, which I thought was actually like kind of a contemporary version. Made me feel the same way that The Exorcist did when I first saw it. There was just some horrific scenes in that that I thought were true horror. A lot of I used to be into a lot of the old Stephen King stuff that came out, but now I just want to see a lot of it remade because it doesn't hold up well in terms of dating itself. There's a lot like Salem's Lot. If you watch it now, people didn't really take to it that much even when it was new. But I mean, the
Someone said
book was
The Exorcist.
The Exorcist.
That terrified me.
But you
in
know what?
college.
The one that I liked better than the first one was the third
The
one.
third one. That
The
was
third
creepy.
one I
That
liked
was
a
creepy
lot.
as shit.
It
Yes.
was it seemed to be I don't know. I read The Exorcist as a book before I ever saw it as a movie, and the book damaged me. As a kid, I couldn't sleep without a light on for.
That's mostly the Stephen King books. We were
But-
talking
but-
about that. I
but-
couldn't.
What I'm getting to though is that I think that's good horror does that to you. It makes you believe that it can happen.
Right. It's
You know?
creepy and everything.
Yeah. Like I don't really get into so many different. I mean, monsters aren't that horrible, really, when you think about it. Usually monsters in most films are just creatures that haven't been identified yet as a creature, like an alien, right? But the ones that sort of they revolve around supernatural type things that aren't as easy to explain, because there's definitely a difference in creature design. There are the creatures that are biologically designed,
Right.
and then the ones that are supernaturally created.
They're just creatures.
And you can go overboard with the supernatural ones, but when they're done well, I think it's pretty cool. It's hard to think of supernatural type creatures that aren't just a little bit campy most of the time. But
Yeah.
I'm sure they're out there.
Yeah.
But just like the story about Seven, which is not a horror story. It's more of a it's kind of horror, but it's about a serial killer.
Yeah.
That's
No, the one that creeped me out was,
which one?
well, in college it was The Exorcist because.
And the Evil Dead, right? The first Evil Dead.
Yeah, but that was. No, it was.
That was 'cause we saw it in the
no,
dark.
it was Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs, yeah.
Psychological,
Yeah,
crazy ones.
but
Zoe Basmanis, do you know the band Tool? Please check out the art for the band. We've seen it.
Oh, yeah,
We've
I'll
been
check
listening to it.
yeah,
Listening to the latest album.
I do listen to that. To Tool.
My favorite manga used to be Benny Hill.
Oh yeah,
By the way, they already have a very you already have a very nice work in a very short time.
Oh, thank you.
The Shining, yeah, The Shining.
Yeah, The
Stanley
Shine.
Kubrick.
I did like the
Ooh.
Stanley Kubrick version of it, even though like I've seen different types of criticism of it. But I thought that that one had such good. I mean, it was just visually very striking. It was beautiful in terms of cinematography, and
Creepy, yes.
just those dead, pregnant silences that would fill the screen sometimes.
That's Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
the,
that was just something that he did, which is
Oh, yeah.
which is very well done.
Are you hyped for The Lighthouse, the new Robert Eggers film? Eggers film? It has a. Oh, my glasses aren't on. I'm sorry. It has a Lovecraftian tale or a.
Is that the wait, I just saw a movie that centered around a lighthouse and a group of beings
it's-
that would come up from the sea.
I think this one's coming out though.
Oh, it's not out yet? I'll have to go and look for it.
I think I saw a trailer for it.
I did like the new version, It #1, the first remake, the one that came out last year. I thought was great. I haven't seen the new one yet, but
Last 2 years ago.
yeah, 2 years ago. I haven't seen part 2 yet, but
Now, I am not totally into horror, so I had to start it like 3 times.
yeah, but once you did, you
I know,
probably
once I
like
did, I watched it all, but it was like, it started and go, not tonight. It's too
And I'm,
scary.
I'm never offended, by the way, if people don't like the same movies that I like.
Yeah.
It's okay. Sometimes I'm very forgiving of films if they keep me distracted while I'm doing something else, which is generally the purpose when I'm at home anyway. Then I've watched like Aliens. I think it's great, obviously, and I've seen it like I don't know 200 or 300 times because I
Yeah.
used to just put it on at night when I work, to the point where I got annoyingly good at like. Saying the dialogue as it happened. And I say annoyingly good because it was annoying everybody around me.
Where this going too bad? I don't know. Oh, I cannot read the kanji. People are writing, so I apologize. It says reminds me of the X-Men's Beast. Very kind of reminiscent of Thundercats' main cat hero.
Oh yeah, I used to watch Thundercats. I had a crush on Chitara. I think probably it's like having a crush on Velma, though. Everybody had a crush on Chitara.
I think when you say Velma, though, we're really showing our age, right?
Well, that's Scooby Doo.
That is Scooby-Doo. I never liked Scooby-Doo.
No,
No.
what I didn't
we
like
were
was
not
that they never
a-
found any real ghosts.
We were not a Hanna-Barbera family.
Yeah.
No Hanna-Barbera.
Oh, you didn't get to watch it.
No, we could. We just apparently, as a whole, all 4 of the kids were like,
Just chose not to.
no, we're more of a Bugs Bunny.
Hmm.
Which tells you a lot about us, right?
There was only a few episodes, I think, of Scooby Doo where they sort of hinted that
Yeah.
there was something else going on that was supernatural, but they never. But it was always related. It always led back to the old man who was trying to, steal the inheritance or whatever. It was always somebody that was trying to con everybody out of some money somehow.
Oh, of course.
Right.
Julia says, when I was 7, my older sister would watch a lot of horror movies and I was fine.
Hmm.
But I saw Mimi's transformation in Super Paper Mario and was traumatized.
It's weird the kind of things that like actually stick to you. Like more than horror, there were like these weird isolated scenes in movies that I don't even know if the movies were considered to be that good. Like there was a movie called Body Double that showed that had a woman being killed in a floor above the man who was trying to save her, and you didn't see her die. You just like saw this drill bit come down through the floor, and that traumatized
I
me.
remember that.
It traumatized me for a long time.
Oh, Neil says the video quality is terrible.
On what?
On this, apparently.
On this?
Yes.
Well, it's just a handheld phone, and it's we're not. We have. I guess it's a little better on the 4K
We have
Brio,
the 4K
but
Brio up
that's
here.
that's recording up there too.
Yeah. So when it does come out on YouTube, it will not be this crappy.
I've been looking at the specific camcorders that allow you to stream at the same time.
Ooh.
So I know, like I had reached out at one time. I was talking to Kim Jong-ji about that, and he gave me a couple of names of the kind of camcorders that he uses.
Oh.
They're not super expensive, but
Oh, do you do any work for film studios? Yes,
I do.
he does.
I do, actually. I worked on Carnival Row, by the way, if you guys are watching that. watch to the end of the series, and you'll see some of the stuff that I did. That just came out recently on Amazon.
Mm-hmm. On average, how long does it take you to finish a drawing completely?
Something like this I can finish overnight, like 6 or 7 hours of playing with it. If it depends, if it goes bigger, it can go anywhere from 1 day to 2 weeks. Is about that, you know. And painting's the same way. It depends on their size and you know how elaborate I want to get with it.
Right.
So,
Right. Do you ever stream on Twitch? We have a Twitch channel, but we have not yet
actually,
streamed.
my 4K is actually set up to stream on Twitch live. I mean, right now, but I just haven't gotten in the habit of doing it. It's one of those things, just like when we used to talk about doing live streaming. We talked about it for 6 months before we did it. You know.
When they were talking about the artwork for the film studios, how does that work when they approach you?
Usually,
Someone found you at a show at
Yeah.
San Diego Comic-Con when you were doing well.
The-
Then you'd worked on something before that.
the second film I'd ever worked, or film work that I'd ever done, was with Del Toro. When I met him at Comic-Con, Guillermo del Toro, he just kind of happened to come into my booth one morning. But just before that, I had worked with I had worked on a film that was eventually released in China. It was a few years back. It was called Monster Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I did pretty well. And I was doing like pre-production, you know, ideation for that. And I did like a couple hundred creature sketches that then they handed off to you know, other artists to develop or ignore. Depends on, you know, which ones they used and which ones they didn't. It's kind of hard to tell after a certain point when you're on it so early. But that was the Monster Hunter was the first film I'd ever actually worked on. I have to keep reminding myself of that because it happened over Christmas one year, and then the very next thing was Mountains of Madness, and you know, that I worked on, and that sort of like stuck in my head for a long time.
Making the beard there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you get in closer to it?
I can get in closer. So I'm going to show me on the other one.
Sorry.
I'm not right in front of him because then he would have to like
I'd have to draw around it.
draw around the camera.
It's really the most difficult part of all this is finding where to put the camera that it isn't like I don't hit it with my head when I'm working, because I'll start to work and forget it's there and whack it with my head, and suddenly it's looking at my, you know, shoulder or something.
How do you make your drawings look so smooth?
That's time. All of them start off grainy, and then as you go along, you know, you sharpen your lead and you start going in and tickling the fibers of the paper in between, like where it's like where it's rough, and you just lightly, you know, keep tickling them until they smooth out.
Mm-hmm.
So it just the difference between a rough drawing and a smooth drawing is how much time it takes. You know, and the tools. Sometimes you can use a blender and speed things up, but if you overuse the blender, that becomes very obvious too. We were talking about that earlier.
Why don't you use colored pencils? Do you ever color your drawings?
I used to draw with color pencils a lot more than I do now. I don't have anything against them. It's just I tend to think in terms of black and white and gray. In fact, I actually have a couple of techniques that render color pencil combined with gouache that look really velvety, which I'll do that one night just to show you guys.
Yeah, you should do that.
Because it actually turns off. It's a very, very unusual render in terms of the surface. It makes
The color pencil first and then the gouache, or either way?
yeah. The color pencil goes on first, and then I go back and I can with the gouache I can do something to the color pencil that makes it ends up looking like velvet.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah,
a very
it's been a while
smooth
since you've
render.
done that.
I used to do flesh that way, and it would look like flesh,
Right.
like human flesh.
Yes.
But
Carlos asks, do you have the details in your mind, or are you just improvise as it comes? And do you remember all your works so you don't repeat the patterns?
a little bit. In terms of the detail, some of it is in my mind, and some of it is improvised. Some of it's memory from studying texture or shapes, and then some of it is just what the shape itself, what the drawing itself suggests along the way. And yeah, I'm actually pretty mindful usually about whether or not I've done something before. When I first started doing
Especially within the piece.
yeah, I mean, when I sold a sketchbook and we did a I gave away, like I sold a little drawing with each sketchbook. So I had like 30. There were a lot of times I would reproduce a similar drawing for that because
Right.
it was something I could do without and I could do it in a speedy in a way, you know. But I try not to just reproduce things for the sake of the fact that it's hard for me to do series work. I mentioned this maybe before here that because I have to make sure that what I'm doing is legitimate exploration instead of just trying to recreate something that sold well, because that's not really motivational to me. I have to be able to find some reason to do it. And like last year, I had a series that I did that ended up at my show.
Right.
You know, the imperfections that sort of just happened without me thinking about it, and it was because I was doing a certain kind of exploration that occurred naturally.
Right.
So, but I do occasionally, I'll do something and I'll go, this looks like something I've done before.
Right.
And, you know, as long as, I mean, and there's nothing wrong with working like in the same world, right?
Right.
But I just don't want to do like a direct copy of something that I've already done. You know,
Yeah.
that's different. Like, I mean, I may do many different satyrs and fawns. You know what I mean? Just because I've done a fawn before doesn't mean I won't ever do another fawn. I just won't try to make one look exactly like the one that I'm doing now. I
Right.
find a different reason to do it. You know, this one just sort of happened this way when I started sketching. I hope that answered the question.
I think so. Have you ever faced a moment where one of your pieces has given you extreme pause when super dark content manifested it fully?
Yeah, actually, I mean, I've always been conscious of what, especially in like the work that I do for my gallery work and my show work, there's usually a narrative behind it, and I'm very, very attentive to what's being said in the piece and whether or not it's representing. I'm representing it well, and it's representing my spirit well. You know, in terms of what I want to put out in the world. That's why, if you look, it's rare that I've ever made a character or a creature that looks violent or aggressive. Most of them look introspective or you know, thoughtful or in repose. And that's because I have this constant theme with my work and also with my kids. That is that you can't trust beauty to be good, nor should you think that things that don't conform to what you think of as beautiful are evil. You know, because, you know, that's what people use to manipulate, right?
Are there any particular archetypes that inspire you?
Archetypes? Jungian archetypes or visual, like, what do you...
No, I don't know. They didn't ask. They just said archetypes.
So, it depends. I'm not sure what that, how to answer that, what that means actually. It depends on what you mean by that.
I'm sure they'll ask. Shading with the tip of the pencil must require an enormous self-control.
Oh, it does. And I mean, in terms of just being super patient,
Yeah.
like I tell people, because I've had people ask like to come to my studio before, and I'll tell them it's not super exciting. It's like watching somebody stare at the head of a pen for 8 hours.
Yeah.
It just doesn't.
That's
There's
true.
not a lot of, you know. There's not a lot of
Maybe that's why you work at night.
drama in one in the work in
Wouldn't be
creating.
an interesting reality TV show.
I don't think so. I don't think it would be a great reality TV show.
Someone asked if I have a personal favorite piece that Alan has created. They usually come about.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One favorite? This is my recent. I'm
Oh,
gonna put it
you
in
can
front
show
of
it.
you,
Yeah, that's fine.
which is not done.
She likes this one. She told me I couldn't sell this one.
So it's fit. He needs just finished off. I was
So-
just gonna sell him as is, but I like him.
You like the little the Bat Boy character that I
I do
have,
like
too.
the Batboy.
He's sort of a
Yeah,
little
but then I
childlike.
had the one quill. Yes, I do have a couple favorites. I do. How many shades of graphite do you use in your drawings?
Everything I've done here so far has been with 8B, and usually, unless I'm like, you know, just in the mood to play with a harder lead and just get in there and noodle into the, like with a sharper point into the details, I almost always will just stick with like one softness.
One softness.
Yeah, because you can get a huge range with one.
Jungian archetypes is the question.
Oh, is that what she was talking?
Yeah.
What he or she was talking about Jungian archetypes. I was an orphan for a long time in terms of Jungian archetypes. You know, and then the wanderer. Uh, if we're talking about the same, you know, I'm just remembering vaguely uh, the uh, the type of things you're talking about, but uh, I'm still waiting for that point when you become the magician or the sorcerer uh, in terms of archetypes. That seems to me to be the kind of the end result of all of it, but it not necessarily because I mean, there's a ton of even Jungian archetypes. I
You
think the
know what?
mother, the father, the wanderer.
You have talked about it with me before, but I have never read
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
I have never read up on it.
Well, that's okay. You don't have to. I mean, I read it in like a long time ago, and it still bounces around in my head. You know.
Sorry, I'm just showing him straight on, so he giving you the side eye, man.
Well, you know, he sort of reminds me again with this kind of this beard thing. He reminds me of the guy that Cain and Abel from the Eerie. Was it Eerie, a creepy magazine? One of the was it
Ooh,
Eerie
I
magazine?
don't know. What are you talking about?
Well, they were the two caretakers of the one magazine that was the horror magazine back when I was young.
Oh, see, your parents let you have the horror magazine.
Oh, yeah.
I think mine would have gone. They would have gone, what?
Well, they were just like, you know, illustrated horror stories.
Yeah. All right, we have 5 minutes before the end of the stream, I believe. House of Secrets.
That's it. House
Uh-huh.
of Secrets. That's it. Yeah, that's
See,
it.
all you had to do is put it out there. Someone would know.
That's why I said it out loud. So.
Right. I think one of the times you were talking about some movie and gave some vague description of it, and someone had the answer. And House of Mystery.
House of Mystery.
House of
And
Secrets.
I always like, you know, I think Cain was the more violent of the two brothers, right? Because Cain slew Abel, and he was perpetually killing his brother in every single magazine, every single episode, every single issue. He would kill his
never
brother.
even heard of this. You always
Yeah.
31 years and you'll come up, just like you said the other day, you played volleyball.
Well, I used to.
I know, but how could I not know that before then? We were like together 10 years and I found out you could fish. It's crazy. All right, look, our website is at alanwilliamsstudio.com. This will be up under the stories, so you guys can revisit it. If you came in at the end, you can watch it, and then it will go on our Patreon, which is at patreon.com/Alan Williams. Excuse me. And of course, our YouTube channel, it goes up there at Alan Williams Studio.
That'll be the 4K video that goes up on those.
Yeah, the one where it's not pixelated or anything.
Yeah.
Sometimes it comes through good. What kind of paper is it? This is Strathmore, medium weight.
400 series. Yep.
400 series drawing paper.
I'm saving the rendering the horns for last because that's sort of like the dessert.
The fun part.
It's the dessert of the drawing. Although this stuff in here is very much fun too. It's all fun, actually.
You always have fun. Wait, there was something else I had to say.
Was Daryl on tonight?
He was on tonight. He was the first person that commented.
Oh, cool.
Yes, we will be on next. We should be on next Saturday.
But we might be earlier in the day
Yes, I will post it.
because we said something about doing it at 1 or 2 so that Europeans wouldn't have to stay up all night.
People around the world. Yes.
And then we'll have to do it at a different time so that the people...
Not at 8 a.m. then.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Thank you for streaming.
Oh,
Always a
thank you.
pleasure to watch and listen.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see the finish of him. Thank you for the live stream.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for watching.
The most beautifulest and scariest thing. Beautiful, not beautifulest. You can tell I'm tired. I feel like I've been perpetually tired since Tuesday.
Well, yeah.
Oh yes, and Lightbox was put on by Bobby Chu, and he had all these sponsors, and the gentleman, Jim. His last name begins with a D, and I can't remember it, but he does Emerald City Comic Con. They did a fantastic job at Lightbox.
Yeah, if you get a chance to go to Lightbox, it's definitely worth going to.
Right.
It was a lot of fun,
It was.
you know. And it would be even more fun if you were there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. My project said just had an art show. You always inspire me with your streams.
Oh, thank you very much. I hope your art show went well.
Low key. Oh, looks like CERN from Smite. I don't know what that is.
CERN from Smite.
No. All right, we got 20 seconds. So you guys draw a little bit, and we will see you next week. Earlier in the day, though.
Yep.
Thank you, Alan.
Oh, thank you. And thanks everybody for watching.
Thanks. Keep drawing, Carlos.